I mean, you're.
I don't know.
Too far. Where do you go? The City Council special meeting of today, December 16th, 2024, at 5:30 PM. Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call?
Mayor Nafolda,
Here?
Mayor Pro Tem Hasselbrink,
Here.
Councilmember Doby,
Here.
Councilmember Hibbert,
Here.
Councilmember Murphy.
Here.
Okay, at this time, we will have oral communications. At this time, any individual in the audience may come forward to speak on any item on the agenda. Remarks are to be limited to agenda items and not more than 5 minutes per speaker. I just request that if you are going to speak, you fill out a speaker card and
May I ask a question? Is this part of the agenda where the audience will be able to address general comments? Or will you have an additional period where we make public comments after the staff report is given?
no, this is the time that you would make those comments related to the items on the special agenda.
Okay, then I will start. My name is Carol Churchill, and I'm here to point out a major flaw and inconsistency that proves that the resolution is based on retaliation, not facts. Please turn to page 2 of the resolution. The first whereas, the third paragraph says, Mr. Legaspi explained the reasons for not being able to provide Councilmember Murphy with confidential financial and proprietary information. Please go to the bottom of the page. The last whereas. The investigator found Mr. Legaspi credibly including his perception that Murphy used her position as a council member to obtain records that she was not otherwise entitled to receive. Clearly, that is inconsistent, and that's what your staff report shows. Therefore, your resolution is intended to retaliate and not provide the community with factual information.
Yeah, you can forth. Yeah. Sorry, Chief.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Shauna Trude. I'm a resident of Los Al. I'm reading this on behalf of several of our residents. I have lists of residents that asked me to read this for them. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I want to express my deep disappointment in the council's decision to pursue this action, which appears to be retaliatory against Councilmember Tricia Murphy. As a resident of Los Al, I have witnessed firsthand the high level of integrity, honesty, transparency, and financial responsibility that Tricia brings to her role. Tricia has consistently demonstrated the highest levels of integrity, honesty, and transparency in her service to our community. Her commitment to financial responsibility is evident in her efforts to uncover financial discrepancies and ensure taxpayer dollars are spent wisely. It's disheartening to see a council member who has done nothing but advocate for open and transparent government being targeted. Tricia's dedication to this city and its residents is unwavering, and her actions always prioritize the best interests of our community. Tricia has never shied away from asking the tough questions or standing up for what is right, even when it wasn't the popular choice. Los Al deserves leadership and values and integrity and accountability that Tricia Murphy embodies to those qualities. As a resident, I am appalled by the message this sends to our community. Rather than focusing on collaboration and progress, the action to censor Tricia seems designed to discredit someone who has simply upheld the values and transparency and financial responsibility. This is not the leadership or behavior that our residents expect or deserve. I urge this council to reconsider this action, to censure Tricia. The residents of Los Al are paying attention, and we deserve better than this petty, last-minute attack on someone who has served our community with integrity. Punishing someone for their honesty and commitment to financial responsibility undermines the trust we all have as residents in this council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
Hi, my name's Melinda. I'm a resident of Los Alamitos, and I have been since 2018. When I learned of this desire to censure Councilwoman Murphy, I found it, excuse me, quite appalling. When somebody is elected to represent a group of people, their job is to be the oversight. Their job is to not hush people that are put here in this place to do exactly what she's doing, which is ask questions. And I think an audit does need to be done. This does need to be assigned to an outside third party to have these financials investigated, because nothing creates more smoke leading you to a fire than the willingness to pounce on a person who merely asks a question and notes their realization or suspect of something that looks a little bit off mark. So the fact that this is even here, all you're doing is bringing a spotlight to the fact that there's something off, and it needs to be looked into even further, and by a neutral third party. So I think this is awful. This is a bad form, horrible form, and I don't stand for it, and I think a lot of people agree. So I think you need to leave Ms. Murphy alone, and I think the vision needs to be focused on what is financially going on here. If there's nothing wrong, who cares about the question she asks? Have it looked at, and then show it to everybody that the numbers are fine. There's nothing off mark. There's nothing going wrong with the IRS filing. The cash isn't having a problem lining up with inventory. Prove it to us. I think you owe it to us.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Okay, Mr. City Manager, can I get a staff report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to actually ask, I'll turn this over to Shalene Bennett, who's actually been handling this matter for the city.
And City Manager, if I may,
Of
before
course.
we turn to the staff report, I would like to indicate that the city clerk did receive an email from Councilmember Murphy this evening at 4:28 that it contained a Dropbox link with additional documents related to this agenda item. Because that came in after the 3 o'clock deadline for comments to be submitted, the staff was not able to actually print hard copies. I believe there is approximately 90 pages of additional documentation within that Dropbox file, but we will make the documents included in that file available to the public, and they'll be a part of the record of tonight's proceedings.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, City Attorney, City Manager. Shalene Bennett. I'm one of the managing partners of Liebert, Cassidy, Whitmore, and we represent cities and counties as well as special districts up and down the state of California. And I have been assisting your city with this matter. This is not a censuring. I'll start out with, this is not a censuring for an individual raising questions. This is not a censuring for trying to hush up anyone or retaliate. The bottom line is, if your city council did not follow through with the investigation that you caused to occur with an outside neutral investigator, you would have exposed your city to potentially significant legal liability. So this was a city obligation to follow through with this outside investigation. Just as a foundational background, this all started back in April. It's the exhibits that are attached to the resolution in the packet It started with a letter from TNT Fireworks to the Los Alamitos Community Foundation, wherein this issue of a phone call from Councilmember Murphy to a TNT area manager, Rich Legaspi, was cited as an issue. The city council was copied in on that letter. The subsequent letter from the Los Alamitos Community Foundation to the city council made very clear that the foundation, a separate entity, a nonprofit private entity, made clear to the city council that they were in their letter censuring Councilmember Murphy's actions, and they were indicating to the city that they would pursue, quote, any and all legal remedies available to protect their organization from further conduct from Councilmember Murphy. As a result of those letters and that legal demand, the city then retained an outside neutral investigator, Karen Kramer, in July, and she conducted an investigation from July forward. She exercised patience, all due diligence between July and the issuing of her report in December, trying to obtain any and all information so that she could complete her investigation. Again, the investigation report that is attached, I will only highlight, Mayor, the salient points. Legaspi alleged that Murphy called him in early 2024 and asked a lot of questions regarding the financial relationship between TNT and the foundation. He answered most of her questions. However, when she requested the records of the payments to the foundation, he told her to request the information from the foundation. She told him that the foundation would not provide her with those records because she had been removed from the foundation's board of directors. He told her that he also would not share the records with her either. In response, she said, and this is the heart of your council's public censure, quote, well, I'm a city council member, so I'm calling you as a city council member to get the information I need or want. The need or want was one or the other, or words to that effect. Even though Legaspi had prior knowledge of Councilmember Murphy's position, when she mentioned her position during their call, he told the investigator he felt uncomfortable telling her that he was not going to give her what she wanted. Legaspi stated that Councilmember Murphy had been nice prior to his denial, but afterwards she turned, quote, not nice, end quote, when he refused to give her the documents she wanted. The call ended shortly after he told Councilmember Murphy that the information she had requested was confidential between the foundation and TNT. Your city council, your city doesn't have a right of access to those documents. The public doesn't have a right of access to those documents. This is not a public entity where a California Public Records Act request could be made. There's no litigation, so there's no subpoenas. These documents at issue that were being requested using the council member mantle were confidential proprietary documents. There's no attorney general investigation that I'm aware of, no administrative type investigation that's ongoing regarding these documents. There was no right to the documents, and there still isn't any that I'm aware of. Legaspi alleged that a few weeks later, Councilmember Murphy left him a message stating she hadn't received the records she was requesting and asking where they were. He did not respond and has not had any communication with her since. He did not feel threatened, but he stated that Council Murphy had a "do you know who I am" attitude, and that's within quotes. That's when your council then got the letter threatening you with legal action and your city with legal action unless this immediately ceased and there was a desist. The investigator, and if you now go and look at the resolution, in there it shows what the investigation findings were. But of note, the investigator interviewed Legaspi, Councilmember Murphy and 3 other council members. The investigator in particular noted that Legaspi was credible. She believed, as an outside neutral, he was telling her the truth, including his, and this is very important to an investigation, his perception that Councilmember Murphy used her position as a council member to obtain records that she was not otherwise entitled to receive. And the investigator found it more likely than not that Council Murphy used her position as a council member to get information she wasn't entitled to receive, implying to Legaspi that as a council member, she was entitled to the information. The investigator also noted that Ms. Churchill's complaint letter appeared to indicate that as a council member, Murphy was somehow entitled to that information, which the investigator said witnesses credibly and consistently maintained was not accurate because the city and the foundation are 2 separate entities. You are not legally tied together. Finally, the investigator found that Councilmember Murphy's arguments that she was entitled to the foundation's financial records as a former director, that somehow entitled her, the investigator found were, quote, nonsensical. The investigator determined that it was more likely than not that Councilmember Murphy's request to Legaspi inferred a lack of transparency and impropriety by the foundation, and that Councilmember Murphy's questions to Legaspi about the financial arrangements between TNT and the foundation created an inference that the foundation's money management was questionable. The investigator sustained both allegations that Councilmember Murphy identified herself as a council member to Legaspi in an attempt to obtain foundation financial information, and that her request to TNT for foundation financial information inferred to him there was impropriety by the foundation in mismanagement of its monies. That investigation then provides your council with the foundation to move forward with a public censure resolution of Councilmember Murphy, which is outlined again in the packet before your council. What's included in the resolution are the various sections from your city council handbook, the code of conduct, the governance protocols, and the code of ethics. In there are cited the various areas where Council Murphy has violated those provisions. The salient points of the investigation report are included in the resolution, and then the resolution concludes with sections related to what your council is adopting. I would just highlight on page 3, section 4, the notation that Councilmember Murphy's actions in abusing her power as a city council member and inferring impropriety on the part of the Los Alamitos Community Foundation violated city and city council policy, and more specifically the code of conduct, governance protocols, and code of ethics. Such conduct is disrespectful to the foundation, the vendor contacted, and the city council, and contrary to the best personnel practices, and is counterproductive to efficient city council operations. Councilmember Murphy acted individually and outside of her legislative capacity and the direction of your majority voice as a council at a duly agendized meeting, using her city council status to try to obtain information she otherwise was not entitled to, all while not utilizing the appropriate city structure working through the city manager. Again, Mayor, I would just note, if your council does not adopt this resolution, it exposes your city to legal liability. By adopting the resolution, the city, through its council, distances itself from what an outside investigator found to be inappropriate conduct that is in violation of your policies. Thank you.
Thank you. May I just ask if you could address, I don't know if there's any questions from council. Anything? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, is there a motion? Do you-
No,
No.
it's back with the council at this point.
Okay.
I'll move the item.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
The item passes with the majority of council. And this will adjourn the special meeting. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.